Good evening, everybody. You're watching Truth Uncensored, the podcast where bold conversations meet Christ-centered truth. I'm your host, Josh Cook, and boy, have we got a great show for you tonight. Today, I'm joined by my good friend, Mason James. Mason, welcome to Truth Uncensored.
Hello, thank you.
All right, so for those of you, since a lot of the audience probably doesn't know you, go ahead and tell everyone a little bit about yourself, who you are, what your background is, when did you first start paying attention to politics, and what are your religious views?
Okay, well, first, my name is Mason, in case anyone didn't hear that. I am a Christian before anything else. I have a strong belief in personal relationship with Jesus, and I think more and more people need to believe that Jesus actually wants to hear from them and actually wants to have an interactive relationship with them. And Jesus is alive today. Faith is not just law. To just get briefly into that, but I'm a freshman student at ORU. I'm a ministry and leadership major, and I believe that's all.
And then what are your views on politics?
Okay. Views on politics have shifted a lot. Right now, I'm kind of like a skeptic of sorts when it comes to both parties. I'm kind of focusing right now on not becoming too polarized or strongly leaning into one political direction too much, because I feel that I was very strong on Trump for like 8 years from 2016 to 2024.
Yeah.
And then I more recently have had a lot more nuance with my opinions on Trump. And a lot of that was sparked by various figures, such as like Trump initially himself, and then also, some of the new wave noticers like Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. All right. So now we're gonna get into before we get into the first segment. I have this section that we do first with every guest. It's called rapid fire. So I'm basically just gonna ask you a series of yes or no questions to try and get a baseline on your beliefs on certain things, and then we'll jump into the first segment. So first question: do you trust the government?
No,
Do you trust mainstream media?
no,
Do you think America is currently heading in the right direction?
yes,
Is free speech currently under threat, in your opinion?
yes.
Do you believe culture is improving or declining? Sorry, it's not a yes or no question, but it's a question I want to ask.
Um, Overall, declining.
Okay. Do you think that people are more informed or more influenced in today's day and age?
Influenced.
Okay. Do you believe Jeffrey Epstein is dead?
No,
Do you believe 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust?
no,
Do you believe Trump is a pedophile?
yes.
Okay. So jumping into the first segment, we're going to talk about why everything feels so extreme right now. So I feel like we've had a jump in politics and radicalism, and it seems like everybody is on extreme sides one way or another. There's not a lot of people who are neutral right now. So first question is why do you think everything feels more extreme and divided right now than it did maybe 2 or 3 years ago?
I think right now more than ever, there's such an attention economy in the world. Like, attention is the currency that has been growing and growing for a decade more than ever, because now with the implementation of more independent sources of media, such as like podcasts like this, YouTubers, a lot of video essays, Twitch streamers, even Kick streamers,
Yep.
YouTubers, all that stuff, what it did was it created a mass, like, it unbalanced the sources of media and influence on people and sources of information, because now you have people that don't even listen to mainstream media anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so the next question is, do you think that people are more informed or just more confident in what they believe?
I think people are more confident in what they believe.
Okay. What do you think is driving people towards stronger and more extreme viewpoints, especially recently?
I think there's a lot of echo chambers, and also there's kind of a wide standing like theory that people are getting more and more into nowadays, where they're kind of recognizing the most radical 10% is about 90% of the discourse online on either side.
Yeah.
So you see the other side, and it's like the most crazy of them. So you think, oh, they're all that way. You have to match it. So it polarizes both sides at the same time.
Yeah. All right. So before we get into the next one, those were all the questions that I had on like extremity in this segment. So before we get into the next one, would you like to elaborate more, or discuss any of these things that we've discussed just now?
Yeah, I'd love to. I think on the first question of why everything feels more radical than in the first 5 to 10 years, I think an important thing is politics is kind of like a way of understanding the world nowadays. People treat it as more than it used to be. And there's a lot of people that kind of like that's their worldview, is their political party. And so, to continue that worldview, it will adapt and change depending on the circumstances, what's happening in the news.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the time you're kind of looking at people on Twitter, whatever, social media, where like their whole worldview is being put out there.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of seeing the worst of them. And you're not seeing near as much nuance online as you would in person.
Yeah.
You're not seeing faces.
Who are some, like, what are some figures, like, considered more extreme figures in the political and internet thing that you think you would get a much different perspective of them if you talk to them in person than what you see that they post online?
Nick Fuentes is probably the number one, because anytime he's on a podcast, there's so much nuance to what he's saying when compared to his podcast segments.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that, I mean, he's explained that as like, obviously, it's kind of like, imagine like, obviously everybody has their friend groups, right? Everybody's got your group of close friends where if you guys are sitting in the living room, sitting on the couch, just hanging out, joking around, going back and forth, you're going to say things and you're going to be your personality is going to be a lot different in that setting than it would be if you are in a place of business or in a classroom and you're being asked a question by, whether it's an authority figure or not, Nick Fuentes referred to it as a good faith question on Piers Morgan. Whereas on his show, he is purposely very hyperbolic. He's very extreme. And it's that way on purpose because that's what his audience wants. And that's kind of what the reputation that he's built and the reason his podcast is so popular, especially among young viewers. But I feel like, yeah, with anybody, they're going to be able to explain their views more. And I've also heard, this is something that I haven't just heard Nick talk about. I've heard a lot of people talk about, but it's called the bumper sticker effect. So the bumper sticker effect is kind of like if I wear a hoodie or a t-shirt or like the name, put a bumper sticker on my car. The goal of that bumper sticker, the goal of that t-shirt, the goal of that hoodie is to make a claim. Whether that claim is extreme or not is up to you. But the goal of that is to spark more conversation. So if I'm walking down the street and I've got this hoodie on, like I've got a hoodie that says, I enjoy an ice cold glass of deportation. It has a picture of Trump holding a glass of ice water on. If I'm wearing that shirt, then my goal in wearing that shirt is not only to send a message in a humorous way, but it's also to get people to come up to me and say, hey, why do you believe this? Like, what's the meaning of your shirt? And then I can go in and explain it more. I feel like that's what podcasts do for people like Nick Fuentes, is it gives him an opportunity to expand on his beliefs and explain the non-hyperbolic way of what he does on his show.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I suppose, yeah, I would.
All right.
I would. That's kind of the idea of it, is
Yeah.
with the attention economy and all that.
All right, so now we're going to get into media and the different narratives and controversy that we're seeing across different types of media. So the news, social media, podcasts. So do you think that most media, so that's combining social media, news, podcasts, do you think that the majority of media tells the truth about major issues or gives their biased opinion on major issues?
Gives their biased opinion.
Okay. Do you think that there are facts mixed in? So we've been talking about Fuentes. If we go back to Fuentes, do you think that on his show America First, do you think that he is genuinely presenting facts about issues, or do you think that he is twisting things and trying to turn things into his own narrative, whether they're true or not?
I think he's giving facts.
Okay, that's fair. Do you think that narratives are shaping reality more than facts, or do you think that we have a balanced supply of both?
I think kind of in an interesting way, everyone has their own bias. And so they will consume the same facts, but they'll come to different conclusions. And so that's how you have like the drastic difference between someone like Dean Withers and Nick Fuentes.
Yep.
They're both reading the same like factual evidence of stuff and events, like coverage of events in Iran, whatever situation is currently going on.
Well, Dean Withers and Nick Fuentes currently agree on Iran.
They do?
Yeah, because they're both against the war and they're both against Trump on that.
That makes sense.
I mean, as am I.
Yeah. But, that's how the personal bias comes into play, is they'll read the same stuff, but they'll come out with different opinions on it. And so you have the appearance of, oh, everyone must be lying, when in reality, a lot of them are telling the truth. It's just from their perspective, they're going to interpret things differently.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I think especially with people like Dean and Nick, I think genuinely, like, sometimes they're reading the same facts, but again, you have somebody like Dean, who I'm assuming he does, I would hope at least that he does research further than this, but I assume when Dean watches the news or Dean watches podcasts, he's watching CNN, he's watching MSNBC, CBS, and he's probably watching liberal podcasters like his friend Parker and Harry Sisson and other people who have the same worldview as him. And I would say, not that Nick is not extreme toward the other side, he absolutely is, but I feel like Nick listens to a lot more people. He will listen to the views and he will watch multiple sources for something that have the exact opposite opinion, and he will actually genuinely try and find the truth behind something. Whereas Dean, I feel like Dean, out of all three, so I feel like if you're going to take the Charlie Kirks and the Nick Fuentezes of the liberal left, it would be Dean Parker and Harry Sisson. And I think out of those three, I think Dean is the biggest fraud out of those three, because I feel like Dean's mainly doing it for clicks. He doesn't actually want to find truth. He just wants to get more viewers on his TikTok. Whereas I think Parker and Harry, especially since Parker and Harry both started out conservative and they both started out Republican and switched over, I think they're actually genuinely looking for truth.
Yeah, I think like Dean Withers has a dangerous like worldview and how he interacts with people, how he debates.
Yeah.
He genuinely thinks they're evil.
True.
Like the way he talks with, I've seen some calls with viewers before where he like literally thinks they are the devil.
Oh yeah, he's literally the one guy joined. So as you know, Dean has a cult-like following of followers. So I was actually in line to debate Dean on his TikTok. I waited in the queue for like an hour. I didn't get up there enough, so I wasn't gonna sit there for longer than that. So Dean, this is actually a shout out, Dean Withers. I would love to have you on this podcast. I would love to debate you and have a discussion. So anytime, any place, send me a DM on Instagram. But I was waiting in line to debate him, and the guy, a few guys before me, he had Epstein as his logo, as his profile picture on TikTok. And Dean's followers, as Dean, before Dean starts to debate him, all of his followers go and check out the people's profile to see what they post. And apparently this guy had like just been posting like Epstein edits, like comedical edits. And Dean literally kicked him off and wouldn't even debate him because he posted Epstein edits, which to me is insane.
The woke left canceling another man who did nothing wrong.
Exactly. Okay, so now what would you say are some topics that have previously been labeled as extremely controversial and conspiracy theories and things that like could never be discussed at all that are becoming more discussed and more like there's more balance of opinion in the present day?
Yeah, I think I want to get right into that. But first, I think it's possible because now you have more independent stuff.
Yeah.
So there's more area to debate things than there were before. And so that's why you see the ability to now debate these things where before, like, you would get your certificates removed if you try to publish an essay on race and IQ.
Yep.
Or if you tried to question the numbers of the Holocaust.
Exactly.
And some of this is stuff that genuinely needs to be looked into
Mm-hmm.
and is important, but
Absolutely.
people were silencing it so hard that you just couldn't get any good information on it.
Yeah, I agree with that. So what are some topics? So you mentioned the Holocaust and race and identity. So honestly, let's just jump into the Holocaust. So would you say that obviously up until the last 5 to 10 years, Nick Fuentes has kind of been an outlier. Him and Dave Blizzard, or whatever his name is, those guys like that have been very few and very little. But Nick Fuentes has been saying this since 2017. There's a viral clip of Nick that the liberals always get so pissed off when people like Piers Morgan bring it up. But he compared it to Cookie Monster, and he said, so they're saying 6 million Jews were baked in ovens. He's like, realistically, if Cookie Monster was going to make 6 million cookies and had this many ovens, it would take a lot longer than the World War II to get that done. And while, again, he presented in a joking way, obviously anybody who has a brain who's watching that knows he's joking. But some people would say that you shouldn't joke about things like that. So before we get into that, would you say that I personally am of the view that comedy has no bounds? I think that comedy is one of those things where everybody has a different sense of humor. Everything can be made fun of and everything's on the table to make jokes about. So do you think that the Holocaust is something that nobody should be allowed to make jokes about? Or do you think it should be kept as something like this sacred religion that the Jews have kept it as?
I think people should be able to make jokes about I think they should be able to make jokes about anything.
So do I.
But the understanding is that there will be social repercussions.
Oh yeah, of course.
So if someone says something that genuinely no one finds funny,
Yeah,
and everyone is just disgusted by,
exactly.
then you're going to face the repercussions for that. But the issue is, for years and years, there was an inflation on the response to things,
Yep.
and everyone would dogpile with people for things that weren't even a big deal.
Yeah. And I agree. So now going back to Nick. So Nick said that back in 2017 when his show first launched. So why do you think that topic that Nick has been saying since 2017 and people like Dave Smith, why do you think that that's becoming so much more of a mainstream topic and people are actually, it's kind of like, it's called the awakening. Why are people becoming so much more awakened to this now?
I think part of it is when something, like whenever the next big thing comes up, a lot of people look into it. And a lot of the time the next big thing is just overtly stupid. Whatever it may be. I'm trying to think of some examples. But like, the whole thing with COVID is there were so many new things people would look into.
Yeah.
Whether it was like the history of vaccines or something like that. And whenever people start getting into Israeli corruption in the United States,
Yep.
it's like the next big thing. So everyone's looking into it. And since there's actually a lot to look into
Mm-hmm.
when compared to stuff like are vaccines causing autism or something like that.
Yeah.
There's more intrigue behind Israeli corruption than the
Oh,
other,
absolutely.
hot topics of the last 5-10 years.
Yeah.
So now a bunch of people are looking into this, and because it's so fascinating,
Mm-hmm.
and because you can so easily tie a lot of things together that earlier people would have never believed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating.
Oh, I agree.
The public opinion on 9/11
Oh.
has
Oh.
shifted so much
Have you?
from back then. Maybe like no one was saying it was an inside job,
No one.
but now like probably 50% of dudes our
Oh, I
age
would say more.
think,
Yeah.
maybe even more, think, oh, Tower 7, that was an explosion.
Have you seen? No, and like there have been actual videos, but have you seen Tucker Carlson's whole documentary on that? He released a whole documentary on why you're being lied to about 9/11. So did Matt Walsh. And I'm surprised Matt Walsh was allowed to, given he works for Ben Shapiro at the Daily Wire.
Matt Walsh is like a dog trying to escape a cage.
Absolutely.
I think, and every once in a while he gets outside, but they quickly put him back in and put a collar on.
I think it's the same thing with Michael Knowles.
Yeah.
Because the Daily Wire has an episode each week or each month or something called Friendly Fire. And it's where like Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, and like their producers get on a call and they discuss controversial things that they know that they disagree on. One of the things that they discussed was Candace Owens and her current investigation into Erica Kirk. And Ben Shapiro was like, Michael Knowles, are you willing to say that what Candace Owens is doing right now is evil? And he wasn't willing to say it. And Ben Shapiro was like shocked. And I'm like, why would you? It's evil. She's trying to investigate something for her friend.
Oh, that went so viral.
Oh, it did.
That went so viral. Yeah, he literally it's like the Dean Withers thing. Here's what I'm telling you. Back then, we used to think only leftists were snowflakes, but now people are seeing that every single political side is full of snowflakes.
Absolutely.
Ben Shapiro is no less a snowflake than Dean.
Oh no, absolutely
honestly.
Not. And Piers Morgan, all those other cucks.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
Well, not all of them are cucks, but
well, Piers Morgan's a cuck.
I'm not going to debate you on that because you're
right. Okay. So, what roles do you think that influencers like Andrew Tate, Tucker Carlson, Myron Gaines, and Nick Fuentes, and Candace Owens, what roles do you think people like that have to play in today's society?
Oh, it's an ancient role. This role has been around for like millennia. Okay, what it is people of the younger age demographic, like whenever they kind of come to age, say like where Gen Z is right now.
Yeah.
With the age of the men from like 16 to 28 or whatever the age bracket is, I forget.
Yeah.
All of them are kind of waking up and they're realizing there are problems in society that go beyond just an immediate quick band-aid as a remedy.
Yeah.
There's these deep wounds in society, and it happens with every generation.
Yeah.
The young people look into what are the solutions for this because they see the problems, they're looking into solutions.
Absolutely.
So what happens is it creates a blank slate in the culture, and so people fill up that blank slate quickly. And a lot of the time what they say might start off with a lot of truth, but it degrades into just generic rhetoric or just ambiguous, like random sayings.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Where it's like, oh, they're corrupt. This is all corrupt.
Yeah.
Everything's a lie. And it just turns into nihilism after enough time. But they kind of do, have you ever seen the movie Fight Club?
Yes, love that movie.
Okay, so Tyler Durden?
Yeah.
How he kind of represents an Andrew Tate-esque figure.
Oh, absolutely.
He has his whole worldview shattered. He's a blank slate. And so what gets imposed upon that is an alpha male-esque figure.
Exactly.
Tyler Durden, but it happens with other figures too.
Exactly.
Like some people, for them, it's Dean Withers.
Sadly.
God bless.
Sadly. Okay, so obviously I asked you a question rapid fire. It was, do you think Trump is a pedophile? And you said yes. I personally disagree with that, but we'll get into that later. Now, somebody like Andrew Tate, who was even put in jail on accusations of human trafficking and do you think that Andrew Tate is a human trafficker or a pedophile?
I think there's a lot of levels to it because he got put in jail, but he also got released.
True.
You know what I mean? If there was either, he was smart enough where there wasn't significant enough evidence.
Yeah.
Or he had the high enough connections to get out of it.
Yeah.
Or he didn't do it.
I don't think he did it.
I think the likely result is probably that he did something, but it wasn't that bad.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't that much.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, he's been known. I mean, one of his sources of income is literally cam girls.
Well, it used to be. He's not doing that anymore.
Low-key been known as a pimp in the past.
He has been. Basically. Yeah, he was an OnlyFans
I'm sure
manager.
He did some things, but I don't know if human trafficking was the extent of it.
And especially since he's been coming to faith. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong on this. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I don't believe he's doing any of that anymore. He's not an OnlyFans manager. He's
Yeah.
not. And he's even encouraging guys to get married now. Like, he was asked by Candace Owens on her podcast. She's like, would you ever get married or encourage people to get married? And he's like, old me would say no. Old me would say, there's no benefit. The girl can wreck you. All this kind of thing like that. But he's like, now I've grown in maturity, and I think that could actually be a very good thing to do.
Yeah, you're right on the money there.
Yeah. So now, we've talked about Andrew Tate, we've talked about Nick Fuentes, talked about Tucker Carlson. What do you think of Candace Owens?
Candace Owens is interesting. I think time will tell the truthfulness of her accusations, but I do think she's doing a great job at getting people to question the mainstream conservative media stream. Like
Absolutely.
the machine, the Daily
Oh, yeah.
Wire,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Her and Tucker Carlson, they were both part of, one was part of Fox News, one was part of Daily Wire,
Yeah.
which are the two major conservative media machines.
Yeah, them and the Free Press, but the Free Press is run by Barry Weiss. So
yeah, but they're causing people to actually have more critical thinking, and
Yeah.
that's what you kind of were saying earlier about, do you think people are more influenced or informed?
yeah,
And they're kind of
they're doing both
they're behind both. Yeah,
very well.
but whereas traditional media is really only doing one, and that's
Yeah.
influencing.
What do you think of Candace Owens's investigative documentary into Erica Kirk called Bride of Charlie, and how all of her investigations onto that? Do you think that those are valid? Do you think that she should be investigating it and trying to get down to the bottom of it, or do you agree with Ben Shapiro that what she's doing is evil?
I do not agree with Ben Shapiro. I'll start with that. I honestly haven't seen the full documentary.
Okay.
What does it entail?
Basically, I haven't seen the whole documentary either, but essentially from the few episodes I've watched, I need to get caught up on it. But basically, she has the things that she already has built up, and then she has an email that anybody can send in information or tips that they want her to investigate. Now, the thing that I've seen that's very good from her is that a lot of people say, oh, well, she's just saying that she accepts information from people, but if somebody gives her information that doesn't align with what she believes, and she's going to throw it out. That's actually not true. There's been several things that people have sent her that she has debunked and said, no, this is not true. Somebody sent her something saying that Erica Kirk was mentioned in the Epstein files and that she was working for Epstein. And she did her due diligence. She's like, no, that's not true. But now there are other people. Have you seen the video that surfaced of Erica Kirk's view on pornography in the porn industry?
Oh, let me guess. I bet I can guess where this is going.
Wait, give me 1 second. So what I want to do is I want to show you this clip, and then I want us to discuss it. So here's the clip.
Perfect.
I have respect for the individuals that are in the pornography industry, not because they're degrading women or anything like that, but because that's their field and they are professionals. So I give them credit for being able to have a job and make money and stimulate the economy that way. But I think that there needs to be a way to shield it from the overall public, such as the kids, keep it away from them. But in general, that's a tough one. I'd really have to say that we live in a free country. So if you want to watch it, turn on your pay-per-view. If not, then why don't you turn on something else that's a little bit more G-rated?
All right, what do you think of that?
That's the dumbest answer ever. It's like fence sitting level 1000.
What do you think? What if Charlie was still here? What do you think he would think of that clip?
Demonic. I mean, she's in a beauty pageant, so she can't really. If she gave too radical a response, it could be an issue. But I mean, either way, either she's very questionable on the moral side of that, or she's compromising and not saying what she really thinks.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's basically like, there's other things, but Candace just brings up things that Erica Kirk has said, things that she's been involved in. Also, do you know that she's banned from Romania?
She's banned from Romania.
Because of alleged ties to sex trafficking. Same thing that Andrew Tate was put in jail for. She's just banned from Romania for.
Maybe Romania is the only country that actually wants to lock people up for sex.
I guess. I don't know. All right, so all the people that we've just discussed, so Andrew Tate, Tucker Carlson. Oh no, the one person we didn't get into, Myron Gaines. What do you think of Myron Gaines?
I don't really have too strong of opinions on him. I think with Myron Gaines, he's kind of just another alpha bro.
Do you agree with his views on women and feminism?
No, I think he's no better than the OnlyFans chicks he brings on.
Okay. That's a valid opinion. I don't agree with that fully, but that's a valid opinion. Okay, so all these influencers we just discussed. So Andrew Tate, Tucker Carlson, Myron Gaines, Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, all these people. Do you think that for the most part, are these people helping people think for themselves and presenting them with truth and facts and letting them decide? Or do you think that they're just influencing them to believe the same way that they believe?
This is so hard because I don't know what percentage of people are becoming further entangled in other people's ideas and not really able to think for themselves, or whether most people are becoming more free thinkers because of this.
Yeah. All
Like,
right. So, before we move on to the next segment, is there anything that we've discussed in this segment, like media, personalities, narratives, and controversy, that you would like to touch on more before we go to the next segment?
I'd like to bring up a theory that I've done some research into recently.
Okay.
It's called the flooding the zone.
Okay.
And I looked into it earlier a good amount, but the goal basically is you create like mass skepticism for the media. Let me find the area. Okay, first, the people become cynical because there's so much like mass information that conflicts.
Yeah,
Then they become disengaged
I agree with that.
because of how much misinformation there is. They're like, wait, I don't believe anything anymore. The cynicism leads to disengagement.
Yeah.
And then they have the blank slate effect. So, like, peak 2020 during COVID
Yeah.
was a great example of the blank slate effect. Everyone was like, dude, everyone's lying to us. All this stuff is stupid. They're going back on what they're saying every 2 months. Everything's conflicting. Trump is Mr. I love vaccines. You know what I mean? That is completely against his voter base.
Yeah.
And there's so much like conflicting misinformation. There's so much flooding of random information in the zone
Yeah.
where it completely waters down. It makes it impossible to really interact with truth.
Yeah.
Impossible to
I fully
find
agree with that.
truth in the information area.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Fully agree with that.
yeah, so that whole blank slate effect, then people can use that to create like narratives that people will follow along.
Yeah. Branching off of that, so you made me think of something talking about that as you were giving like the different steps of what happens in different stages. Do you know who Tom McDonald is?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you heard his song Brainwashed?
No.
Okay. So I'm gonna pull up the last part of the lyrics real quick, because the whole song is about how the government is brainwashing people and how the higher ups are doing this. But at the very end of the song, he gives a 10-step, basically what he thinks happens, and this is how people get brainwashed. So let me pull these up and we'll get into that real quick. All right, so here it is. So it says, Step 1, train the people only to consume. Step 2, infiltrate adults with the news. Step 3, indoctrinate the children through the schools and the music on the apps that the phones that they use. Step 4, separate the right from the left. Step 5, separate the white from the black. Step 6, separate the rich from the poor and then use religion and equality to separate them more. Step 7, fabricate a problem made of lies. Step 8, put it on the news every night. Step 9, when people start to fight, take control, save. It's called situational design. So what do you think of those? Would you agree with those 10 steps of things? Like, I think that's like, they fabricate a problem like the pandemic made of lies that they control. They put it on the news. They put fear in people, and then the government comes in with this vaccine to save everybody, and then they make themselves the good guys from a problem that they created.
Yeah, I think he's onto something, but it's hard because he got way more specific than I did. So it's hard to like fully agree with it.
Yeah.
But I think he's on 100% on the right track there.
Okay. That's fair. So by the way, who came up with this theory that you're reading? Who came up with it?
So this was it was a proposed idea that was originally made by the Fabians.
Okay.
You know who the Fabians are?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically they did a lot of research and discussion on how to slowly change the complete moral standing
Yeah.
of the population.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually the idea is then they could replace it with their own foundation.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a 3-step thing that was proposed by a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And even like a lot of people nowadays that are in the information and influence
Yeah.
industry, such as like Steve Bannon, like says on camera he acknowledges it.
Yeah.
And he wasn't saying he took a part in it, but like there's a lot of people that are confirming these instances. There's leaked CIA documents.
Yeah.
Where they talk about it too.
Yeah. All right. So now we're going to move on into culture and social issues. So what's something that you think people are afraid to say or talk about right now? We're not talking about Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate, and then the people that are able to. What's something that just the average person might be afraid to say or talk about in person or on their social media for fear of backlash?
I think a lot of the things that were previously, you couldn't say, I think still now there's some level of that where you can't say them, but there's just less consequence. So I think right now the only major things I can think of where like it's very problematic is stuff with like studying eugenic stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you say a lot of the eugenic stuff,
Mm-hmm.
people really won't like you.
Yeah. Kind of
Um,
like the whole Margaret Thatcher type thing of like,
yeah, if you
yeah,
believe what Margaret Thatcher believed in 2026,
yeah,
that might get you canceled.
yeah. That's fair. So where do you think culture is headed in a general direction? Like where do you think that we are headed into a place where things are going to become less censored and there's going to be more open dialogue for everybody? Or do you think we're heading into cracking down more on censorship?
I think the first one, absolutely.
Okay.
I think we're heading towards more and more freedom of speech, freedom of opinions, freedom of thought, because as I was saying earlier, people are more cynical of the institutions now.
Yeah.
So people are more willing to engage
Mhm.
with people where earlier they would have just been like, "Oh, you're crazy," and then not talk to them. But
Exactly.
nowadays, people are more in favor than ever of maybe we need places where we can speak.
Yeah. All right, so something in culture, and I'm not sure if it's a social issue or social improvement, but something that we've had very much in current cultures and social society is masculinity and the whole idea of the manosphere. So what do you think of that? The manosphere, just the whole manosphere era, the Andrew Tate, clavicular, Nick Fuentes, masculinity in general, and the whole manosphere idea and that group of people. What do you think of that? Do you think that's having a positive or negative effect on society?
I think it's neutral, actually.
Okay. Why is
I
that?
think there's a need, so people are filling the need. The need is people don't have male role models, so there's people that fill that need.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just a response to a problem, and I don't think the response itself is either good or bad.
All right. So, really quick, I'm going to play a clip real quick. This is a clip of Charlie Kirk. This is what Charlie Kirk said when he was asked what he thought of Andrew Tate. Go ahead and check out this clip.
Andrew is a very smart man, and I'm not going to get into all the accusations against him. I don't know the truth. We'll find out. But I will say this: what he says is so powerful. And let's emphasize on that. What Andrew Tate is doing is he's communicating a warning of what happens when society becomes too feminine. We are seeing the American man, porn addicted, lowest testosterone rates in 30 or 40 years, least married, least purpose, most suicidal. It's because our society is configured towards collapsing the American man.
Okay, so from what he just said, I have to say I completely agree with that. But again, this comes into play because we're talking about the manosphere and masculinity. And so, would you agree with what Charlie Kirk said?
I would 100% agree with that.
Okay, so now going back to the question, do you think that the manosphere and the whole topic of masculinity, do you think it has a good influence on men and it's a good thing, or do you think it's a bad thing?
Well, earlier I kind of still have the same opinion I have earlier, which is it's just a response to a need.
Okay.
But I mean, the good thing is also like it's good that there's things people are looking into for information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And some people will have very positive things that come out of it, and some people will have very negative things.
All right.
Yeah.
So next, I forgot to ask you if this was meant to be a rapid fire question. So I'm going to ask you a yes or no question first, and then we're going to jump into the topic. Do you think that cancel culture exists?
Currently?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now let's jump into what do you think, so you say it does. So what do you think cancel culture is? Who do you think is behind it? And what do you think the goal of it is?
Well, first off, it's on the decline.
Okay.
First and foremost. I mean, it was such a threat, 2018,
Yep.
2020, 2022. But now no one cares anymore.
Yeah.
No one really cares anymore. There's some people that get like fired from projects, but like the only thing people get canceled for anymore is legit crimes. Like was it Ezra Miller, the guy who did The Flash?
Yeah.
Who was like literally, if I remember correctly, it was like human trafficking or something.
Yeah.
Human trafficking, okay. Or Jonathan Majors with the alleged domestic
But
abuse.
he's been proved innocent.
He's been proven innocent, but at the time, Marvel did fire him.
Yeah.
Like that's what people are getting quote unquote canceled
And then you
for
have the whole
recent history. No one's bringing up racist tweets anymore.
See, you say that, but then if that's true, then why is Nick Fuentes not back on YouTube and Instagram?
Oh, that's because they hate him.
So, but then
They
they're
hate him,
canceling
man.
him.
Well,
He's a victim of cancel culture.
Here's what I'll say. Okay, the establishment still has cancel culture, but society, the average person doesn't care about it anymore.
Okay.
The average person isn't like, oh, this guy has racist tweets.
Okay, so
I don't
think
want to watch his movie.
Okay, so I think more of what I'm talking about, I'm talking about cancel culture as it relates to the establishment.
Yeah, the establishment, there's still cancel culture.
Yeah.
Although even that is becoming less and less because if it's so unpopular, then eventually it'll phase out more.
Yeah. All right, before we move on to the next segment, is there anything that we've talked about in this segment, cultural, social issues, masculinity, cancel culture, is there anything that you want to touch on more before we move on to the next segment or no?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is whenever we're interacting with culture, you got to remember, I'll pull it up. It's from John 15. But Jesus says, reading out of ESV, if the world hates you, know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love you as its own. But because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. Remember
Amen.
the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than its master. If they persecuted me, they will also persecute you.
Yeah.
And so the important thing is to not view it in terms of, oh, we're under such a threat as Christians.
Yeah.
We've always been under threat as Christians.
Yeah.
And to think that, like, okay, if we gain control of the culture, I think we lose so much of what actually sets us apart.
True, because we're supposed
That
to be we're supposed to be persecuted. We're supposed to be like that's yeah.
If we gain the whole world but lose our soul in the process, it's for nothing.
Amen.
So if we are actually, this is the whole thing with like Turning Point USA.
Mm-hmm.
If Turning Point USA becomes as big of a social influence as the entirety of the liberal media
Yeah.
or the worldly media,
Yeah.
I don't think it's because Turning Point USA has kept any of its values as a Christian organization. I don't know if it is a Christian organization.
It is.
But at the very least, it hasn't maintained that standard. Because you can't, like, okay, world domination as a Christian is impossible.
True.
Domination of culture is
But
impossible.
Charlie Kirk wasn't seeking world domination. He was seeking the whole point. The reason Turning Point USA was created. That's the reason he was looked at less as a political figure and more as an evangelist.
I'm not talking about BC before Charlie. I'm talking about AC.
That's
I'm just saying, like, from what it seems, ever since, like,
so you're saying
in the last,
after
in the
Charlie.
last 5 or 6 months, okay, there's been such a drastic increase in the influence of conservative institutions.
Yeah.
Where now I think it's not. I think we're losing part of ourselves in the process.
Yeah.
As
agree with that.
conservatives, like there's watering down of the gospel,
Yeah.
watering down of the original intentions.
Yeah.
In order to, get more people into it.
I'm so glad you brought that. I'm so glad that was your last point on this, because the very next segment is faith and culture and how we as Christians are supposed to respond to this. So that was a great segue. I could not have planned that better myself. Just so you guys know, we didn't plan that. So that was awesome. So this next segment, I like to call it faith versus culture. So this is kind of where I start to bring everything back, because obviously for those of you who know the podcast and watch the podcast, the whole purpose of it is to have open discussions about anything. Not all of my guests will be Christians. All of my guests so far have been Christians, but I try, and from me as the host, I try and bring everything back to a Christian perspective. So since you are a Christian, how do you think we as Christians should be engaging with everything we just talked about, from politics to cultural to political issues to all these things? How should we respond as Christians, and how should we engage with these things in a way that Christ would be happy with?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is balance. Because if you're a Christian, I think overt Christian nationalism may be a problem. But I also think the idea
Can you
that
define
no Christian,
real quick? Can you define overt Christian nationalism?
I think Catholic Instagram.
Huh?
Catholic Instagram is
don't
a
know.
good example.
Well, no, just give me a definition. If you had to define, if you would say, okay, let me ask you this: would you say Nick Fuentes is an overt Christian nationalist?
Honestly, I need to hear more of his takes on it to define.
He calls himself a Christian nationalist. So what would you say the difference? What's the overt put on it? What's the difference between an overt Christian nationalist and just a Christian nationalist?
Well, a Christian nationalist just wants everyone in their nation to be Christian, but may not think that we should force it upon them.
So,
But like wants them to be Christian and wants our nation to continue being founded on Christian principles.
So I'll tell you my view, and based on what I've heard from Nick, this would be, I can't speak for Nick. Also, Nick, I want you on the podcast. DM me, I want you on the podcast. Anyway, I believe this is Nick's view as well, but this is my personal view. I would consider myself a Christian nationalist, and this is my view on what that is. So our country, whether or not people will want to admit it or not, our country is a Christian nation. It was founded as a Christian nation. It was founded by Christian men on biblical principles. Our entire Constitution was written on biblical principles. Now, I think we have lost that. But I think that my view is what would be a perfect country for me as a Christian nationalist, the way I want America to look, is I think that all of our leaders should be Christian. I think the president, people in Congress, the Senate, our leaders and the people making the decisions need to be Christian. But the difference between us and other countries like England and Iran that have state-sanctioned religions is we give everybody the freedom of religion. So I think everybody should have the freedom to practice whatever religion they want or practice none at all in this country without the fear of being persecuted as long as they adhere to our laws. But I think the leaders of the country need to be Christian. That's my opinion. So when you say overt Christian nationalism, would you define it as what I just said or something different?
First, do you think it should be required for political positions to be Christian?
I think I think in a perfect world, I think our president needs to be a Christian. Yes.
Well, I'm saying, where do you draw the line on that?
Again, because this is the same thing when people ask me about the 19th Amendment and women having the right to vote, and they want to get into a big debate and argument on it. For me, I think there's an argument for both sides, but I don't want to get into it a lot because the likeliness of it happening. So obviously, in the current country that we live in the state of our country, the likeliness of the 19th Amendment ever getting repealed is pretty much none. And the likeliness of us ever only having Christian leaders and Christian presidents is next to none. But I would say in a perfect world, the way I would want America is I would want all of our political leaders. I would want the president, Congress, Senate, representative. I would want all of them to be Christian and to put Christian and biblical ideas into the decisions that they are making. But I think that everybody in the country, nobody should be forced to practice a certain religion. That's my view. Obviously, that's probably never going to happen, but that's my view of a perfect America. So now when you say that you think overt Christian nationalism is a problem, would you say what I identify as? Would you say I'm an overt Christian nationalist, or would you say your idea is something different?
I think your view without nuance is overt.
Okay.
Because you have a lot of nuance in your view.
Okay.
Where it's like, in a perfect world, okay?
Yeah.
This is an ideal we should strive for. I want all of our politicians to be Christians.
Yeah.
But overt is not really a great word for it. I think, like radical, I don't know.
Radical Christian nationalism?
Exactly explain. But the idea of people that really think if my political official is not religious of the same type as me, if they're not Christians, then I don't even want them like to be in this country.
See,
like people that are the most radical response to Mamdani, specifically from the religious perspective, is what I think is an issue. So I think most people that are like, okay, I don't really want a Muslim as a mayor, I'm in that category.
Okay.
But the people that are like we need to throw him out immediately and put laws in place where no Muslims could ever be in a position of authority.
See, the issue is, though, the people who are saying that, they're not wanting him deported. They're not wanting him thrown out because he's a Muslim. They're wanting him deported and thrown out because a lot of people aren't even sure if he's even in this country legally, first of all. Second of all, his mom and him have huge ties to the Epstein files.
Yeah.
His mom him as a kid has a picture with Epstein. So I think that's mainly the issue. And I would say, yes, if your definition of overt Christian nationalism is somebody who wants, at the very minimum, all of their political leaders, but somebody who would be okay if everybody in the country was just Christian, because that's basically a state sanctioned religion, saying that you can only live in this country if you subscribe to a certain religion. I would agree that that's bad. And I would say that there are definitely some people who hold that position. I would say I don't hold that position. I don't believe Nick holds that position. But I would say that somebody who does hold that would be a huge problem. Yes.
Yeah, I'm in concurrence with that.
That's fair. Okay, do you think that currently, to everything that we've discussed and even more, everything that's going on in the world right now, do you think Christians are being too passive or too aggressive?
I think unbalanced is the issue on this. This is what I was saying earlier about we need balance, is there's churches that do nothing, and there's churches that march in the street for political issues, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about abortion.
Yeah.
I'm talking about for Trump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, there's churches where
there are MAGA churches.
Literally, there are MAGA churches, especially in Texas, where I'm from. There are churches that literally, like, you look, it is, we are Christian, and then the very next thing is we are MAGA.
That's insane.
Or other things that, same thing with Democrats, too. There's churches like
we are Christian and we are Harris.
It's completely unbalanced is the issue. I think Christians should interact with the world. And if we don't, then how are we ever going to reach it?
True.
But the important thing is to have balance. The important thing is to not be the church marching in the street saying, "Make America great again," with every member of your staff marching there. That's happened in Fort Worth a lot of times.
Yeah. Okay, so, and then last question in this topic, would you say you find it hard or difficult or easy to stay true to your faith in modern culture?
It's hard. It's always been hard. And the minute it's not hard, it's because you're not staying true to your faith.
True. Amen. I agree with that. All right, before we get into this next segment is going to be a fun segment. But before we get into the next segment of faith and culture, is there anything that you would like to discuss further on this before we move into the next segment?
Basically, there's an issue with like pseudo-intellectualism in the area of biblical interaction. Yeah, I want to discuss the culture of pseudo-intellectualism in Christianity.
Okay.
And I think people nowadays either never interact with the Bible or they do interact with the Bible, but there's also a small percentage that's been very outspoken
Yeah.
of people that kind of claim that they're Christian, but they're not really, like, you're not seeing any fruits.
Oh yeah,
on it.
absolutely.
I think that's one area. Is the key thing is a lot of times the most outspoken people that are Christian aren't always the people that have the deepest faith, that have the strongest faith.
Oh yeah,
The
absolutely.
people that know the most. We're kind of listening to just about anyone who's loud nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when it comes to interacting our faith with culture, don't just hop on any train of someone who seems like they're right. Really look into them and see if they have the lasting fruits.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, the people that really are good and are giving the good information and are
Mhm.
doing more honest interaction with the Bible and culture are the people that don't have millions of subscribers on YouTube.
True. I would agree with that. All right. So this next segment is a fun segment. It's a segment that I started in the last episode. So it was not in the first episode, but it was in the second one. And this is called the Disagreement segment. So this is where I'm going to ask you a question, and basically I want to hopefully have some controversy, have some juicy stuff in this segment. I feel like we've had some controversy, but what is a belief that you have that most people, even people on your side of the aisle, politically or spiritually, would strongly disagree with?
All the primary candidates for the elections, they're all corrupt.
Okay.
Every single one of them.
You think all of them are?
I'm telling you, to get into the top 8, you already have to be like in with people that are controlling a lot of.
Okay.
the
Okay. Expound
narratives.
upon this. Why do you believe that they're all corrupt?
Well, basically, all of them are kind of taking money from AIPAC.
Oh yeah, true.
And if they're not, it's you soon find out that they're corrupt in other ways, like Mom Donnie.
Yeah.
Okay, him immediately meeting with all the rabbis on
Yep.
day one.
Yep.
Okay, and they're like, this guy really is good for the Jews and all that. And they're
Yep.
like, dude, okay, this guy's Muslim. Okay, and they're saying
He
they
hates
like
the
him. If the
Jews.
Jews like him, then that tells you something.
Yeah.
And so, like, even the people that seem to be less corrupt end up being corrupt themselves. And I've found that pretty much anyone who ends up winning the primary usually has a lot of problems. I mean, Kamala Harris, and I don't think they're going to give the United States population a candidate that is genuinely, like, not corrupt.
Yeah. Are you
And
so?
even with Trump in 2016,
Yeah.
who was seemingly one of the least corrupt, like, primary winners
Absolutely,
in the
yeah.
last couple decades, the issue with him is he didn't have anyone really backing him because he wasn't in with all the establishment as much.
Yeah.
So that he had to take people in to fill out all the staff positions who were already loyalists to other campaigns.
True.
He had to get a bunch of Rubio guys in.
Yeah.
He had to get a bunch of
Vance.
Yeah, Vance.
Well, I mean, he picked Vance as his vice president.
Yeah, he
That's.
picked
I mean,
Vance
that's
as
obvious.
VP, but like, okay,
that
there
was
were- there were
obviously
Pence
an
guys-
establishment
he put
pick.
Pence guys in there, in 2016.
No, I'm gonna,
Rubio
would
guys
you
in
not
there.
say? Would you say that JD Vance was an established pick and
100%.
Yeah.
JD Vance is the definition of in the establishment. He's literally Peter Thiel literally groomed him so that Peter Thiel could have a like quote unquote like what's the term? So basically, you get someone. Have you ever seen The Godfather?
yes.
So,
I watched
you know
that in my
this-
film
okay,
analysis class.
perfect,
We
yeah.
watched it in film analysis. We have
Okay, we watched it
Okay,
together,
for
okay.
for context for the viewers, we have a film analysis class together. We literally watched this. Bro does not remember I'm in his
Yeah.
class.
So the same thing that the Don of I forget the name of their family.
Oh, it starts with a V.
Anyways, so they adopted this one kid who was like Irish or something like that.
Yeah.
And they trained him as a lawyer. They sent him to law school and all that so he can be their lawyer. That's what Peter Thiel did with JD Vance.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
JD Vance was in like law school, and then Peter Thiel was like, "Hey, dude, he kind of groomed him." And I'm not going to get too much into the specifics.
And I'm from Ohio, and guess who's running for governor of Ohio? Who was JD Vance's best friend in Yale?
I don't know.
Vivek Ramaswamy.
Ramaswamy's running for Ohio?
Ramaswamy is the number one he's the Republican candidate currently running in the primaries for governor of Ohio.
Oh, he's going to win too.
He has the support of most Christians, even though he's freaking Hindu. And J.D. Vance's son is named Vivek after Vivek Ramaswamy. J.D. Vance's son is named Vivek. Did you know that?
Dude, I didn't know it. That's bad.
No.
I don't mind Vivek as much because he has really good press, you see.
True, but see, because as an Ohioan, as an Ohio native, I want Casey Pustich.
I want a Christian as my
Casey Pustich is a Christian. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now I wanted to circle this back. So when you said that, because you said all political candidates are corrupt. So are you only talking about the presidency, or are you talking about Congress and Senate too?
Yeah, I'm not really talking about Congress and Senate as much. I mean,
what do you think of governors? Do you think all governors are corrupt? Everybody in the governor's
I don't
race?
think they're going to be as corrupt, but I still think generally they're corrupt. I mean, Tim Walz is
true.
pretty dang corrupt.
And Gavin Newsom.
I mean, Gavin Newsom mugs people. So
True.
But still, like all the high up officials, usually to get that high up, you have to be in with people. And to be in with people, you have to compromise. And you have to get rid of some of your own things you're pushing.
So do you know who James Fishback is? Okay, so James Fishback is currently running for governor of Florida.
I know.
He's running against Byron Donalds. He got canceled. Well, didn't get canceled. He got very criticized by CNN because live on CNN, he called Byron Donalds a slave. Meaning he was a slave to his donors, a slave to AIPAC. They're like, you can't call him a slave. That's insensitive. And he's like, I will stop calling him a slave when he gives back his $30 million to AIPAC. But I want to show you a clip of Fishback, because you were saying that most of them take money from AIPAC. I'm going to show you a clip that James Fishback said recently at one of his rallies about AIPAC. I want to see what your opinion is on that.
I don't have the track record of taking money from AIPAC and then putting America last and putting foreign countries first. I don't have the track record of going to Congress and approving bills that spend money that we don't have on things we don't need for people in our country who should not even be here. I have a track record in business. I have a track record now as an investor who has channeled $1 million of capital into companies that refuse to hire on DEI but hire on something called merit instead. I have a track record of building a free debate league here throughout Florida, from the Panhandle all the way down to South Florida, that's worked with 5,000 students to train them to be like the next generation of Charlie Kirk's, well-spoken, courageous, and free-thinking.
All right, so what do you think of that?
I think it's good. He sounds good. He sounds like he's
So he is also
got some credentials, I suppose.
He is also so that clip I just showed you was from 3 months ago when he was being interviewed by Tucker Carlson. This pic is from 1 month ago when he was at a rally. This is what he said at the rally.
Because I work for you. I don't work for AIPAC like Byron Donalds does.
So, and he's big on that. But one other thing, I'm going to show you one last clip. One other thing that he has promoted, and I want to get your opinion on this. So basically, just some pretext to the clip. He has said two things, and this is something that I think is very admirable. Three things that he said he's going to do before the sun goes down on his first day as governor. First, he said that he is going to propose a tax called a sin tax, which is a tax on people in Florida that make money using OnlyFans or pornography, and he's going to put a 50% tax on anybody using those platforms to make money.
Like on their income?
Yes, 50% income tax on anybody using OnlyFans or porn to make money in the state of Florida. And he also said that he is tired of the government allowing 700,000 students, Chinese students from foreign countries, to come and take places and take federal grants and scholarships to go to Florida State University. So he said he's going to increase tuition for Florida State University for foreign students to $1 million to give the spots to American students. So he said that, and then he has also said that he is going to sign a legally binding contract that says if he does not, at least, obviously some things that he proposes have to get passed by the Senate and have to get passed by Congress. But he has said if he does not make a strong effort to keep all of his campaign promises, he will sign a document that says he will make himself not eligible to run for re-election in 2030 if he does not keep his campaign promises. So what do you think of that?
I think it's very smart messaging. I think the one thing I heard that I immediately was so skeptical about was him talking about the Chinese students.
Mm-hmm.
and how he's going to make it $1 million for them. Which is it because the federal is it because Florida is giving out grants?
So here's what he said. Here's the official clip of what he said.
If we're going to play this game of immigrants are good, is one immigrant good? I don't know, maybe if it's Elon Musk. But if it's 100 immigrants, is it 1 million? Are you Matthew Iglesias and you want to have 1 billion people here? We have to draw the line somewhere. I draw the line right here at the integer known as 0, complete immigration moratorium. I hope these folks will support that at the federal level, but within my state powers, if you give me this awesome responsibility to serve you as Florida governor, I will on my first day, I don't need the legislature to do it. I will direct the board of governors to direct every public university, including this one, to raise the tuition for both future and existing foreign students to $1 million a year.
Yeah.
That's so dumb.
So you see,
okay, I'm kind of picking apart just a small piece of what he said,
yeah.
but the whole existing part is completely stupid, because then there will be students that have 3 years done and 1 year to go of their bachelor's, and then all of a sudden tuition is $1 million and they can't finish. That's so stupid.
I would agree with that.
I mean, I'm assuming he just said that and that was a misspeak on his part.
I do not
But
agree. I do not agree with
that,
the existing.
That's so dumb. Now, if he only does new students that are like going to start applying next year, then that's not as horrendous. But still, I mean, the whole idea is just maybe cut off grants. But if a student can pay, and even if they're international, if a student can pay to get in there and they, pass all their, tests or whatever, they pass looking through their scores and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of not really a meritocracy anymore if you're limiting based on their status as not a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
And I'm all for trying to promote U.S. citizens, but if the way you do something is by harming another group, that's basically what happened. And this is gonna sound crazy, but whenever Hitler, whenever he deported a lot of the Jews, a lot of the positions were filled in by German workers. And so you have, increased, lowered unemployment for Germans, but a small percentage of that came from filling out positions that you had to make empty in the first place. You know what I mean? So I think it's problematic to kind of remove the meritocracy aspect of that.
Yeah.
But if there's a bias favoring international students, then I'm all in favor of removing that. But if they can get in there and the university's fine with it, and they're not, discriminating against non-immigrants, then I don't really agree with them.
Yeah, and then one of the other things he said that the state of Florida, the only foreign nation that the state of Florida sends money to is Israel, and they have sent over $350 million to Israel in the last year. So what he said he's going to do is he on his first day as governor, he's going to divest. He's going to demand all the $350 million back from Israel. And he's going to divest that into a fund to help young people afford to buy homes.
Yeah.
So would you agree with that?
I have to revisit the earlier thing for one sentence. I thought of something really good.
Okay.
If you made it where even if they get married, they can't become U.S. citizens for the next, say 15 years.
Yeah.
Then that would make more sense.
I do agree with that.
Because the issue is you have people coming over, then they get married in the U.S., then they become U.S. citizens. And that's problematic. That's why your H-1B visas turn into green cards, even if they're not meant to.
Yep.
So if he made legislation where they can't get married within 10 years in the United States and they're not going to be permitted citizenship for 20 or whatever, something of that sort, something to get around that problem, then I'm all for that.
Yeah.
But on the current thing you talked about, which was, can we revisit what
it was? He said that so the $350 million that Florida has sent to Israel, he would demand all of that back on his first day, and he would divest that into a fund to help young married couples afford to buy homes in Florida. So would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So moving on to our next segment. Next segment is where we're getting into some fun stuff. So this segment, we're going to be talking about Mr. Jeff Ep. So, first of all, what is your general opinion of Jeffrey Epstein? You've already said that you don't think he's dead. So I think we'll start there. In rapid fire, you said that you did not think Epstein was dead. So if you don't think he's dead, where do you think he's at?
He's in Israel.
You think he's in Israel?
Or if he's not, he's in the U.S. somewhere.
Okay.
Or he could be anywhere.
Do you
the amount
think
of places that people can be hiding right now is insane.
Do you think that Epstein is an agent for Mossad and a Fed for Mossad?
Do I think?
Yeah.
No, but I know he is.
What do you mean?
It's like
okay,
a fact.
expand
It's
upon
a fact.
that.
In the files, if you are to believe the Epstein files or a lot of the stuff in it,
Yeah.
is the most obvious, like literally he's with the former prime minister of Israel. Okay.
Yep.
He's known as a Mossad agent.
Yep.
He's known as a Mossad agent. Okay.
And they found uniforms
He
in
works
his
on behalf of
closets.
Israel.
Found Mossad uniforms in his closets.
I mean, this is okay. The general consensus right now
Yeah.
is that he was working for Israel
Yep.
as a blackmail agent,
Yep.
an agent to gather blackmail. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you had multiple people that were in on it too, and then they tried to get other people that weren't agents or something of that sort, like celebrities, politicians,
Yep.
to go to the island to get blackmail on them and to control them in an intelligence operation.
Yep.
Intelligence operation. That's the general consensus.
Yeah.
I mean, some people don't accept that, but that's the, I'm not gonna say the path of least resistance, but it's the most likely situation, and there's a lot of evidence supporting it, especially in the files. I mean, there's thousands of things supporting that in the files.
Yeah. So just go ahead and just kind of give me your overview of what you think of Epstein, what you think of the files, and what you think of what the current politicians are doing to combat that.
Well, other than what I just said, I doubt all of them have been even released, but a good amount of 3 million were released, 3 million documents.
Pages, yeah.
Or pages, yeah, which is great. I love that they're releasing a bunch. I'm sure within 80 years there'll be even more released.
Yeah.
And there won't be.
Wait, did you say 80 years or 8 years?
80.
Damn. Okay.
Well, is it 70? Because after a certain point, all government documents have to become public record.
Oh, true.
And I think it's 70 years.
That's true. I wasn't thinking about that. Okay.
That's
I
how
thought you were
got-
just being
that's how
like
you
very
got-
hyperbolic, pulling a Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, that's why
80
you got
freaking years.
CIA doing Project 731
Yeah.
in California in the 50s got released.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that. That's just straight up conspiracy.
That's fair.
But,
Okay.
Yeah, with Epstein, like all the politicians, not all of them are guilty, but a significant amount of them are.
Yeah.
And if your favorite politician is in the Epstein files more than once or twice, as just someone randomly mentioned, but if they're in it, if Epstein is talking about them by name,
Mhm.
not in the way of, oh, this person's evil, I hate him, like Alex Jones,
Oh,
who's
yeah.
in the Epstein files for Epstein hating him,
Yeah.
which is hilarious.
I love Alex Jones.
Um,
Shout out Alex
but,
Jones. Come on the pod.
Day one Epstein op.
Yeah.
Years ago. But if your favorite politician is in the files 30 times, I'm not going to say he's not for a fact a pedophile, but at the very
You've
least,
you've already said that you think Trump is a pedophile.
I think Trump is a pedophile.
I completely disagree with
because
but-
there's hundreds of not hundreds, there's dozens of docs about him in the Epstein files as being a pedophile and
okay, so
doing stuff with minors, and then there's thousands.
You do
of him
realize that
being
none,
related to Epstein.
that none of those things they've already invested. None of those things have any evidence or merit to them, and most of them, including at least 3 of the women, have already sworn in, signed affidavits saying that nothing happened. And Trump is also back in 2000.
You're skeptical of one thing, but super quick to believe another.
No,
thing.
It's where the evidence points. Back in 2007, it was Trump that called the police and called law enforcement to report a pedophile that he kicked out of Mar-a-Lago that was running around. Like, Trump has done almost everything in his power to expose pedophilia. Now, I disagree that I think that he should have kept his promise and redacted and unreleased and released all the Epstein files, but I do not think Trump is a pedophile.
Trump is in the Epstein files 1,000 times.
All right, we'll have to.
That's all I'm gonna say on it.
We'll have to.
Here's the thing.
agree on
Okay,
that.
here's the last thing I'll say on this. Okay.
Okay.
Now I have, and I think both of us have, a good amount of nuance in the Epstein files because neither of us can confirm whether any specific thing in the Epstein files is true or false.
True. Yeah, it's just what we believe based on
the
what we've read.
only opinion I have is there's so much stuff in there where it's likely that a decent amount of it is true.
Okay.
But I'm not going to argue against anyone saying that that's unconfirmed because they're right, it is unconfirmed.
Okay.
But just
That's fair.
in a speculatory nature, I think it's likely that a lot of the stuff said about him is true.
Yeah.
And also, his character doesn't really help him out there.
We'll agree to disagree.
That's all
on
I'm going
that.
to say.
All right. So before we move on into the next segment, is there anything else that you would like to say related to Epstein?
The only other thing I'll say is I think there's a lot of CIA propaganda on Instagram trying to make me think Epstein is cool, and it's like half worked, half not worked.
Did you say that Epstein is cool?
You know what? Earlier when you talked about a guy making Epstein edits
Yeah.
on TikTok,
Yeah.
dude, those are sick.
They are.
If you make good edits of someone, you can make Hitler look great.
You can.
Joseph Stalin look
Like,
great.
okay, let me ask you this:
Make
would
the
you?
worst person? You can make Henry the Eighth or whatever.
Would you or would you not
9 of
agree?
his wives look-
I'm gonna name 3 people and tell me or not if you think they like whether or not you agree with all the things they did, whether or not they had aura. Did Hitler have aura? Yes or no? Would you say
yes?
Okay.
yes.
Did Epstein have aura?
Absolutely.
Did Genghis Khan have aura?
Oh, he actually, yeah. You don't need propaganda to prove he had aura.
Did Stalin have aura?
Yes.
Exactly. Julius Caesar. Did Julius Caesar have aura?
Yeah.
Yes. So like I genuinely don't give up about any of this at all. I'm not ashamed to say it. Hitler had aura, Epstein had aura, Stalin, all these people had aura, not meaning that everything that they did was good, meaning that in one way or another they were all geniuses. Whether or not they're an evil genius, they were all they okay.
Everyone, all of those figures had several areas which they were absolutely genius at. Okay, and we can pick apart. Oh well, they did bad things, so automatically, you can't ever look at any interesting characteristics they had.
Exactly.
But the fact of the matter is, okay, if you are trying to discount any interesting research into someone, based solely off the fact that they did X or they did Y, throughout their life, then what you're doing is you're just needlessly limiting dialogue, on historical characters.
And to me, if you're encouraging people against researching something, that means you have something to hide on that topic.
Precisely. Or at least you're scared about something.
Yeah. So that's
and at the very least, you're a snowflake.
Yeah, that's a great segue because our next topic is Mr. AF. So, Mr. Adolf Hitler, what do you obviously has become much more controversial in present times? What
more controversial?
No, I think. Oh, yeah, sorry, much more talked about.
Okay.
Much more, yeah. No, not much more controversial. No. Okay, less, if anything. Okay, so what do you think? So I already asked you in rapid fire if you thought that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. You said no. I would say I also agree with you 100% on that. What do you think of Mr. Adolf Hitler? What do you think of the Holocaust? And just what do you think of him as a person? Aside from honestly, let's take out the Holocaust from it. So taking out the Holocaust, if the Holocaust didn't happen, it was just Hitler as a person, all of his characteristics, everything he did, but without the Holocaust. What do you think of him without the Holocaust?
Weird.
Fair.
Weird. I think there's a lot of things about him, especially his personal life, that's just very weird.
Oh, precisely.
Okay. The reason
weird, but interesting.
Fascinating. One of the most fascinating people in history.
Facts. If I could, I was asked in 8th grade if I could interview anybody from past, present, or future besides Jesus. Jesus wasn't an option. But besides Jesus, any figure, I was like, Hitler. Like, I'd love to interview Hitler on this podcast. Be like, why did you do what you did? He's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I looked into a lot of stuff on him recently.
Yeah.
And he is literally probably a top 5 most fascinating person in history.
Oh, facts.
If you look at his early life, segueing into his life as a young adult.
Yeah.
Then
how he rose to power.
Like early mid-adulthood. Then you also got to think Hitler, started the Nazi party when he was like 45 or 40.
Exactly.
Something of that sort. He had 40 years
of experience.
Of interesting stuff that happened in his life, from serving in the military during World War I.
Yeah.
On the Axis powers.
Yeah.
I think he was for Austria.
Yeah, he was.
But he's an Austrian who had so much affinity for the German people. That he literally became the German leader.
He did. He became the dictator.
He founded the Nazi party. I mean, it's absolutely fascinating. But also, there's a lot of weird stuff.
There is.
For one, he had a weird relationship with his niece.
How?
Who he was 40 at the time and she was 19, and she moved in to live with him because her parents died or something like that. And
you think there was some pedo stuff going on?
Well, not pedophile. She's 19, he's 40. And
fair.
Back then, that was actually kind of normal, unfortunately. Which is really bad.
We're not talking about Game of Thrones here. Incest is not normalized.
I'm not going to get into the.
We are not normalizing incest. Apple, do not demonetize this podcast. We are not saying that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, he had a weird relationship with his niece. And like, at the very least, it was a little something was going on. But at the most, I mean, they were in a romantic relationship. I think it was his adopted niece or something like that. Though.
Yeah.
I don't think it was his legit niece. But it was someone who was like loosely related to him moved in with him.
Yeah.
And she actually committed suicide when she was 23.
Oh, Jesus.
Because he was like really pressuring her allegedly, into like controlling her life.
Well, that's up.
Like she moved in with him, and then it's speculated that there was something romantic, but it's not confirmed. But at the very least, he was a control freak over her.
Yeah.
And he was like, you got to do this, you got to do that. And, was kind of limiting her freedom.
Yeah.
And so then she ended up developing as mental health issues or something like that.
Yeah.
And then committed suicide. So then his second person he was involved with, that was a lady, was his wife who he married later. And
Yeah.
they both committed suicide in a bunker. So both one of the likely romantic relationships, but the only confirmed romantic relationship, both of them ended up having suicides involved.
Well, that's not good.
And just also Hitler, famously started, recreationally using, peptides.
Hitler was
Not
okay.
peptide. Wait, what's the one?
Hitler was Hitler was the Hitler was the
amphetamines?
Hitler was the hold on, hear me out here. Hitler was the 1930s clavicular.
Yeah, basically. But he was doing more than
Looks
clavicular
maxing.
was.
He was looks maxing.
Yeah.
Hitler's the OG
But
looks maxer. Okay.
Yeah, he was drug maxing. He's drug maxing, dude. It's confirmed. I mean, you look at the videos of him at the Olympics in 1940s, and this is by the time he had been doing it for like 8 years or so.
Yeah.
Kind of just, taking drugs with like the prescriptions of doctors or whatever, but like hard drugs and crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Like amphetamines.
Yeah.
It's confirmed. There's a lot of doctors' reports about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at it, and it started to really affect him more and more as the war started and as the war went on. It's fascinating. Like he became a tweaker. By the end of the war, he was a tweaker, like legit.
Hitler was the OG Walter White, Breaking Bad.
Bro, what? That has nothing to do with this.
I know. I just thought of drugs. Breaking
Insert
Bad drugs.
buzzword.
Buzzwords.
Just kidding.
Buzzwords. Holocaust. No, I'm just kidding.
200
This podcast is gonna get taken down.
If a man takes 271,000 steps in a day, do his feet hurt? Buzzword.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's get off the buzzwords before you get taken down. Okay. Before we go on to the next segment, is there anything else you want to say about Mr. Hitler and the Holocaust?
I mean, while we're on the topic of Holocaust,
Okay.
I'm not a big 271,000 guy,
I'm not either.
but I am a probably 2 or 3 million guy.
I'd say it's.
'Cause the issue
I'd say
is-
it's in there.
Auschwitz alone went from 3 million to 1 million on the reports.
It went from 4 million to 1 million.
4
Actually,
million to 1
they
million.
lost
So
3
at the
million
very
overnight.
least- at the very least, factually speaking, okay, if you're to go off of their reports,
Yep.
Auschwitz, there is now a bar at 3 million.
Absolutely.
And so a 2 to 3 million is a pretty reasonable and balanced.
Yeah.
That's not a radical opinion.
No, it's not. It's
A
it's an
radical opinion is like 271,000 or 6 million. 6 million is the new delusional opinion. 3 million
Or-
is more like normal.
Or as Nick Fuentes said on Piers Morgan when he was maxing Piers Morgan, he said there was 9. Because Hitler.
Oh, that's the funniest thing too.
That's
because
what Piers said.
Morgan
Piers
couldn't
tried-
understand he was being sarcastic.
No. I'm gonna find that clip. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna find that clip real quick. All right, here's the clip. I'm gonna start it a little bit earlier because this is the very entrance to that discussion where they're discussing statistics, and he asked Nick about something, and we were talking about comedy and whether we think that we should be allowed to make jokes on things. I think that we both agreed that we should be allowed to. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the clip of him beginning to ask Nick about this stuff.
Do you think?
We
Yeah, I
could
do
talk- we could
actually.
be
I
very
mean, I
serious.
do because I just find it extraordinary that you would think the Holocaust could ever be something that we could joke about.
Why, too soon? Is it too soon to make jokes?
How many people do you think died in the Holocaust? How many Jewish people?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe 7 million. What's the number?
He knows the number,
He
dude.
knows what it is. He's gesture maxing him. Wait, keep going. Keep.
Chester Max?
He's yeah. That's literally what it's called. He's on.
6 million, something like that.
So you
8 million,
you concede that 6 million Jews died in the
Why is
Holocaust.
it rising?
possibly more. Possibly, we're discovering all the time. So it could maybe even be more than that.
So why
Upwards of 10.
have you doubted the numbers in the past?
I'll tell you why. I really think that every death is a tragedy, however many Jewish people died in the Holocaust. And I'm not a World War II historian, so I'm actually open to believing the official narrative, and I've read some of the conspiracy theories. And to tell you the truth, it's a rigorous debate. But
All right, we're gonna pause it there because and they get into a very good discussion. I think we can both agree with Nick that every death is a tragedy, and anything that
Yeah.
happened during the Holocaust was right. But just that clip of him, Piers Morgan didn't even know he was joking. All right, what do you think of that clip?
Yeah, that's just the cultural disconnect between Piers Morgan and Nick Fuentes right there. Is he's like, it could be 7 million, 8 million, and then Piers Morgan is like, fascinating. I wonder what he's thinking about.
He's like, boomer. Okay. All right. So moving on from that. So I feel like we've covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover for the most part. But now I always I'm just starting this segment. I started this in the second episode as well, in addition to the disagreement segment. But I just like to give the guests a chance after we're done with everything that I wanted to talk about. If there was anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about, or anything that we talked about that you wanted to have a continued conversation on, this is your time to just anything you want to talk about, we can talk about.
Yeah, I think one thing I did some research on for this, so I can get my stuff in alignment. But I think a lot of people in my kind of category are really quick to be like, "Oh, Hitler fixed the economy."
Yeah.
And the whole idea is like a lot of people genuinely think Hitler would be a fantastic leader. But the issue is the conthesis we have about Hitler is oftentimes correct about how morally bad he was,
Yeah.
but incorrect about any of the political actions he took regarding the economy of Germany.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a kind of list I made
Okay.
of some points about him kind of combating the idea of that Hitler fixed the economy in
Yeah.
quotations.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Basically what they did, I'll give a quick 4-step thing for their plan of how they did it, okay?
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of dissect it more.
Okay.
But basically, they took power whenever Germany had like no money at all. Okay.
Yeah.
They took power in like 28.
Okay.
Or not 28, sorry, they took power in like 33. Then they had 4 steps. They had a bunch of government funded jobs.
Okay.
Okay. Then they borrowed a bunch of money.
Okay.
Then they manipulated a bunch of data, especially on unemployment.
Okay.
Then they had fortunate timing
Okay.
on things. And I'll get into the specifics real quick. Okay. The Germans made things look good, but when analyzing the context, they were years away from economic collapse.
Okay.
By like September of 1939,
Okay.
either they invaded another country or they were going to have economic collapse.
Okay.
But the idea is that like anything, so what they did was, getting into the government funded jobs aspect,
Okay.
they basically, the minute they took power, they put out a piece of legislation called the Law for the Reduction of Unemployment,
Okay.
where they had a bunch of people that were unemployed because they had a 33% unemployment rate when the Nazis took power.
Yep.
Okay. They had a 33% unemployment rate. So they got all the people and they made them work for government jobs, but the government jobs were like paving sidewalks
Okay.
or fixing irrigation,
Yeah.
fixing plumbing for stuff,
Yep.
building public works. So they had a bunch of public works projects, which is
Okay.
like what happened in the US to stop the Great Depression, but they did it and they did it like even further. Like they
Okay.
went all the way in.
Yeah.
Okay. Because yeah, that was basically a strategy. And it's good in the short term.
Yeah.
But the issue is they kind of fueled the fire too much.
Yeah.
So the next thing they did was they borrowed a bunch of money.
Okay.
Okay. So they already had lowered the unemployment rate significantly. And then, oh, sorry, I completely forgot one other thing. Throughout all 4 steps, they're constantly doing propaganda,
Okay.
which is what every government does to an extent.
Yeah.
But every single man who was in work boots with a shovel, they took a picture of it and put it in the newspaper.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is to get as much public confidence in the economy as you can. That's how you get out of a depression.
Yeah.
Is you want everyone to think, wow, we're really getting out of this. All these people are working. The unemployment is low. My cousin didn't have a job, but now he's part of the public works.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you show all these images in the newspaper and you're like, wow, this is crazy. The economy is being saved. So you have all this propaganda. Then they borrowed a bunch of money to continue funding the works projects in factories.
Yep.
So they funded a bunch of factories producing a bunch of products. And a lot of it was like munitions, goods,
Yep.
refrigerators.
Yep.
Public works like sidewalks. They
Mhm.
kept on funding this because if they stopped funding it, the economy would flatline again.
Yeah.
And they basically did their whole strategy. It ended up being the short-term overspending and short-term improvement of the economy
Okay.
with devastating results in the long term.
Yeah.
Whereas other countries, a lot of them, what they did was they did minor short-term stuff like what they did at the public works. But at the end of the day, their plan was for the long run. This is what
Yeah.
the U.S. did, where it took them longer to rebuild than Germany, but by the time they were built, in like whatever 1942,
I think so. Yeah.
but by 1942, like Germany was already rebuilt by 35. They had 8 years on us. They rebuilt like 3 times faster than we did,
Mm-hmm.
but they did so in a very short-term way,
Yeah.
where their economy was going to collapse in 39 because they didn't have enough currency. There was this currency they made that was basically like bonds.
Yeah.
And it's called Mefo bills.
Okay.
And that's a shorting, it's actually in German. But
Yeah.
basically the bank or the government printed a bunch of bills, and it's like inflation, where they created these bonds and they were saying,
Yep.
this counts for money at a bank,
Yeah.
exchange it at a bank and they'll give you money.
Mhm.
So they did it, but they said, we will repay this. We'll give you money
Yeah.
in like 4 years, 5
Mhm.
years
Yeah.
for this. So it's like a bond. But the issue is it kept on snowballing because they had to keep on increasing and maintaining spending.
Yeah.
So their economy didn't collapse
Yeah.
because they basically threw a bunch of fuel into the fire instead of being more careful, where they had to keep this machine running.
Mm-hmm.
And the area where it crossed the line was in 1938,
Yeah.
where there was $100 billion adjusted for inflation
Yeah.
that the government owed in Mefo bills.
Mm-hmm.
So this right here is like 1938 is where they crossed the line from like just Hitler rebuilt the economy to Hitler built a machine that was so consuming that it was just going to destroy the country.
Yeah.
And so the only way that they could then justify, like the only way they could stay in power
Mm-hmm.
and the economy wouldn't collapse,
Yeah.
is if they increased their internal like resources
Okay.
somehow, one way or another. Because
Yeah.
the issue is, like, they banned trading with foreign countries for like daily goods.
Yep.
And the only thing they would get from other countries after 1933
Mhm.
was just like gunpowder, like steel for rifles,
Yeah.
stuff for munitions, because they were a munitions economy.
Yeah.
After 33, they were a munitions economy. So what they did was they basically had no options left except to get currency from other people, to get
Yeah.
resources externally. Because the key issue here is they were spending more than they were earning in currency.
Yeah.
They were spending more money on munitions and public works, and they couldn't stop spending,
Mm-hmm.
than they were earning in imports.
Yeah.
I know exports, not imports, exports.
Yeah.
So then their only option left was to quote unquote annex other countries to get a bunch of gold and money and a
Mhm.
bunch of land and a bunch of collateral. Okay, so they did that, and that's why they actually invaded Poland.
That makes
And-
sense. Yeah.
And September 1st of 1939
Yeah.
was because they legit had already annexed Austria.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, they had already annexed Austria. They'd already annexed Czechoslovakia.
Czechoslovakia. No, Jinx,
Yeah.
give me a soda.
No. Anyways. And they had no options left. Their economy was on the brink of collapsing. It was going to collapse in September, is what people thought was going to happen, like historians. And so they were like, okay, well, I guess we're invading. And so they invaded Poland, and that was the straw that caused the war. Is the other countries had gone done. They were done appeasing them enough.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, you guys had an air force that you built. You weren't supposed to build it, but we're gonna say you can do it. Whatever.
Yeah.
You annexed Hungary, or not Hungary, or was it Hungary?
I think it was. Yeah. Yeah. It was,
Austria.
No. Yes, it was Austria.
Austria. Yeah. You annexed Austria. You annexed Czechoslovakia, and they kept on appeasing them. The Allies kept on appeasing them, but then eventually they crossed the line of Poland, and that led to World War II.
Yep.
And then it's fascinating, but
It is
the
very,
whole
yeah.
thing is people really want to be like, man, at least Hitler fixed the economy. And then the crazy, they'll bring up
He
the
really
Autobahn
didn't,
too.
yeah.
The Nazi party was against the Autobahn until they took power.
What?
They were strongly against the Autobahn. They said
That's
it was like
crazy.
factually speaking here. They were against the Autobahn. They said it was only going to benefit the rich and it wouldn't benefit the common man. And then the minute they took power and the Autobahn finished, because it was already like already segments had been finished a year before they took power.
Yeah.
The minute it was finished, right after they took power, they immediately took all the credit for it and completely switched and said, we've been saying this from the start. This is a great idea.
The switch up.
This is so smart. But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's one thing I think is interesting that I just wanted to talk about.
No, yeah, absolutely. That I did not know a lot of that. I have not done a lot of research. Like I have heard, I've never personally said Hitler fixed the economy, but I have heard a lot of people talk about that, and I think the viewers, everybody is enlightened by that, and that is Very good. So you kind of talked in the beginning about something that's going to segue into our next thing. So we're going to play a little game. And it's funny because I already had this planned, but you kind of said that there's a lot of people that would think Hitler would make a good leader, and that's true. There are people like Nick Fuentes has said that he would. Now I'm not sure if he was rage baiting or being hyperbolical, but he was. Do you remember when Sneeko and Aiden Ross hosted a debate for Dean Withers and Nick Fuentes?
Oh my gosh!
And-
Greatest debate of all time.
Yes, yes. It
I've
was
never enjoyed listening to debate more than that debate.
It was such a good debate, but he said, Dean asked him, he said, who would you rather be president, your wife or Hitler? He's like, Hitler! He was like, he's like, look, I don't have a wife, but if I did, she would not be fit to run this country. Okay, so we're gonna play a game real quick, and the game is called Hitler or. So I'm basically just going to ask you from your perspective, everything that we just talked about, the economy, him as a leader. And again, before this game starts, to everybody out there, to Apple, everybody who's going to try and do anything they can to demonetize this. I do not sanction the Holocaust. I think neither of us did. The Holocaust was a horrible event that we are not Holocaust deniers. The Holocaust did happen. It was a terrible event. Hitler should not have done that. That was a flaw on his part. But this game is purely kind of comedic, kind of serious, just in general, based on him as a leader and knowing that if he was the president of the United States today, he would have to follow our law. So the Holocaust, there wouldn't be any chance of that happening. Basically, I'm just going to say Hitler or, and whenever I say the other name, I just want you to tell me who you would rather have if you had to vote for either one for president, if you had to pick one. So Hitler or Epstein?
Hitler.
Hitler or Nick Fuentes?
Nick Fuentes.
Hitler or Kamala Harris?
Hitler.
Hitler or Gavin Newsom?
Gavin Newsom.
Hitler or Benjamin Netanyahu?
Oh, I wasn't expecting this one. I genuinely don't even know what to say right here.
What's the greater of two evils?
I mean, okay. Benjamin Netanyahu already kind of rules the United States, if you think about it.
Yeah, and the United States is...
Hitler.
Okay. Hitler or Donald Trump?
Donald Trump.
Hitler or Dean Withers?
Hitler.
Okay, and last but not least, Hitler or Andrew Tate?
Andrew Tate.
All right. So now we're kind of going to go from that into the very last thing that we do. So I like to do this with every guest. The Hitler thing was just special for you because that was part of our discussion. But this is something that I do with every guest. This last thing is called one word association. Basically, I have a list of names I'm going to go through. And when I say a name, I just want you to give either the first word that comes to your head, or if you had to use one word to describe this person, what word would you use for each person? So, Donald Trump.
Compromising.
Joe Biden.
Chill.
Kamala Harris.
Dumb.
Andrew Tate.
Wise.
Nick Fuentes.
Necessary.
Peter Thiel.
Antichrist.
J.D. Vance.
The Beast.
Elon Musk.
Desperate.
Gavin Newsom.
Handsome.
Candace Owens.
Interesting.
Tucker Carlson.
Fair.
Myron Gaines.
Gay.
Clavicular.
Gay.
Sneeko.
Smart.
Aiden Ross.
Smart.
Jake Paul.
Smart.
Milo Yiannopoulos.
Millennial.
Ben Shapiro.
Past.
Tom McDonald.
Edgy.
Michael Knowles.
Valid.
Matt Walsh.
Valid.
Brett Cooper.
Valid.
And last but not least, Mr. Piers Morgan.
Misguided.
All right, Mason. Well, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up this interview that you would like to leave the viewers with?
Yeah, I suppose the most important thing is just to make sure you remain balanced when you're interacting with politics. Because anytime you notice you're becoming too radicalized, anytime you notice that you're becoming unable to hear out the other side and listen to them, you're probably in an echo chamber. And just,
absolutely.
make sure you're obtaining wisdom from multiple sources.
And then the last question that I ask everybody is, obviously I'm not speaking this over you, but if you were to die today or tomorrow or on your drive home today and this podcast was the last words anybody ever heard you speak, what's one message that you would like to give to the world if it was the last thing anybody ever heard you say?
Jesus Christ is Lord.
Amen. And well, thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate your time and perspective, and I hope we can do this again. If this episode challenged you, encouraged you, or helped you to think differently, follow the podcast, leave a review, and share this with someone who you think needs to hear it. Remember, truth matters, discipline matters, faith matters, and your life has a purpose. I'm Josh Cook, and this is Truth Uncensored. We'll see you in the next episode.